Hi, everyone. My name is Shiji Kathuria. I work as a librarian at the Alpharetta campus for Perimeter College, and I'm also the librarian for the Honors College at Perimeter College. That's a lot of college. But today I'll be talking about Zotero. So maybe you have heard about it in a class, or you've just heard some fun rumors about what a great tool it is. So I am going to give a quick overview of what Zotero is, and then I'll spend the majority of the workshop giving a demo of it live from my computer just to show you how it works. If you are a long-term user of Zotero, this is pretty much an introductory workshop. So the workshop's going to be a little bit tailored to, if you've never heard of it, what all it can do for you. But if you have any questions specifically about some of the advanced features and something not working for you, then I'm happy to answer those at the end of the class. If you're here for extra credit, I do have a link that I can provide at the end on, I can give you a certificate of attendance for attending today. So I will send you that link at the end of the class today. So just to start off, what is Zotero? So it's a free citation management tool. You don't have to be affiliated with Georgia State to use it. It's just an online open source tool that you can get from the web. Essentially, it automatically senses research that you're looking at on the web, and you can save it into a personal database within one click. And you can instantly create references and bibliographies within Word and Google Docs using it. And it supports over 10,000 citation styles. So I know we all are probably mostly familiar with APA and MLA, but there's obviously a lot more citation styles out there. And Zotero has support for most different citation styles that you would need to be citing in. So I'm going to do a Zotero demo, and this is a short overview of what I plan to show. So how to build and import a reference library into your Zotero library, how to edit those libraries and modify your settings, and then how to use it within Word or Google Docs. I'll probably focus mainly on Word, but just know that Google Docs also allows for that kind of integration. So a lot of people are like, what does this cost? It's a free tool. Like most cloud-based tools, it's free up to a certain extent. So if you have under 300 megabytes worth of storage, then it's free to use. But if you want more storage beyond that, 2 gigabytes, 6 gigabytes, it's kind of like Dropbox or something like that, where once you hit a certain storage limit, then it has a small cost affiliated with it. I just wanted to show this though, that I'm a prolific Zotero user. I have probably over 300 to 400 items in my library, and I'm not even close to being full in my storage account. I still have the free account. I'm using less than 50% of my free account. And so don't think that you have to spend money in order to have access to Zotero, because it takes a while to hit that free limit. Zotero also allows for group libraries. So if you're working on a collaborative project, you have co-authors that you're working with on something, or somebody in your class you're working on a group project with, it does allow for you to share your library amongst the various users of your group. So I can demo how to do that. So I'll go ahead and just jump into demoing it if there aren't any initial questions of what Zotero is. So let me switch screens. So hopefully you are now seeing my web browser. Is everybody hopefully seeing that? I'll pop out chat. So yeah, I'm now sharing my screen with my web browser, and I have Zotero.org open. So if you're interested in using it, you go to Zotero.org and you download it in a few different places. I'm obviously not going to go through how to download it because I already have it installed on my computer. But if you go to the main website and go to download, you're going to have to go through a two-step process in order to get started using Zotero. So there's the program itself. So you download that. Obviously, if you want a Mac computer, it would say Zotero for Mac. And then you would download that program. I have some trouble installing it on Georgia State computers sometimes because of like the firewalls and things like that. So I would definitely use your own personal laptop if you're getting started using Zotero. I wouldn't do it on campus per se. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then the second part of downloading Zotero is to have the connector. So whatever browser you're using, you should install, or whatever browser you like to use a lot, I would install it there. So I use Chrome pretty extensively. So I have the Chrome connector installed on my browser. I do want to give a caveat that if you're a Mac user, recently Zotero has had some issues working with Safari. I think Safari 13 had a lot of upgrades to it that Zotero couldn't work with. So I think there is a workaround. but if you do use Safari a lot, then it may not work as well, or there may just be a workaround. But Chrome and Firefox, and I think even Bing, all work pretty well with Zotero. So that's something to keep in mind. So essentially you would download these two things, and here's where it all gets installed. So first, it's a program on your computer. So I've gone through the download process, and this is what the program looks like. And I have a blank library up just for the sake of today's workshop. And then I also have the connector up here in my browser, which is this little button with a paper icon. And basically any website I'm looking at, this button will be activated for me to save whatever I'm looking at into my library. And then the last place it downloads is within Word. So if I open a blank document, I have Zotero up here as a menu. So going through that two-step download process, 1, 2, I'll have the connector, the program, and then it living within Word. So those are the three places that you want Zotero all installed. So I will just go ahead and just do a demo of how it works now that it's all been installed. So I'll do just a search on a library search. Let's just pretend I'm searching on stress in college students. I'm doing some research on that. So let's say I just want any of the articles up here. So Zotero as the connector in my browser is sensing all the content that I have I'm searching for currently. So if I click on this, sorry, I'm seeing some WebEx messages, so let me just minimize. So it's sensing the content. So every search result that I have on my screen now, if I click on my connector, I can import these results into my library. And you'll see it's called saving to, and I have a little folder open that's it's saving to. So now when I open Zotero, all those articles that I just clicked on are now saved into my Zotero library. And this works, I mean, it's really as simple as that. Like if you're searching the library website, it'll do that. If you're searching YouTube, I'll just open the sample YouTube that I had open. You'll see the button changed a little bit. It's like a little film icon now, but I can save a YouTube video too. I kind of use it, Zotero, like a bookmarking tool. Anything I want to save, I just click that little button and it saves. If I'm looking at a sample article that I want to cite later, let's say I'm looking at a newspaper article, it's really as simple as just it's a web-based connector and I can save anything I'm looking at using my Zotero connector. So now if I open up Zotero, you'll see that everything I was just looking at, that YouTube video is here now, that newspaper article is here now. And when I look at the articles over here, all the information about the articles have been broken out into like individual metadata. And essentially what this is going to help with later is pull this all together to make a reference for me in whatever style I'll be citing in. Within Zotero, you don't always have to search for items on the web and import it. You can also do some manual adding to Zotero. It's not preferable, but let's say you just have like this manual item you want in Zotero, you can do new journal article and then fill out all the information you want about it. Again, not like the most preferable way to do it, but you can do that. If you knew the ISBN number or DOI of an article, let's say you don't have a way to search for it, but you know like a certain number for it, you could just type that in. I have one right here, so I can just show an example. It'll search that ISBN number and add the book to my Zotero library too. You can also import existing PDFs, so you don't have to always search online. I have some sample PDFs on my other screen right here. So I'll just drag a PDF over from a folder that I have on my computer and drop it. And it'll actually just go ahead and import that article for me and break out all the information about it based on what it read from the PDF. I'll just show my sample folder here. So this is like a sample folder I have of PDFs, and I can just literally drag the PDF in there. So I don't always have to search online if I want to import items into my Zotero library. So that's essentially how you build a library. Now, let's say I'm looking at this library and some of this stuff is a little funkily imported. It's all caps. I don't really like the fact that it's all caps, and that might affect my citation later. You can edit any of these fields. So if I wanted to go ahead and change the capitalization of that, I can just type over it and make that change. So that's just something to keep in mind. Don't think that because it's imported this way, that's how you have to cite it. All of these fields you can edit and kind of tailor to whatever you're doing. Okay, so that's a quick look at how to build a library. So next I want to show, there's a few things I want to show, but I mainly want to show how to go ahead and start citing in Word. So I have a library going. I find it to be like all the research I'm doing for my class. So now I want to start citing from what's in my Zotero library. So now I have Word, and I told you that Zotero has been installed in my Word program. So when I click on the Zotero menu, I can click Add Edit Citation. And what should pop up, which maybe it's not working. Something's freezing. Typically, something's not working about this, sorry. Might be having technical difficulties. Please excuse me. I just tested this right before class started, and now it's not working. Sorry, reinstall. Okay, so something about this was not installed correctly. I apologize. Right. Please excuse me. I'm sorry about this. Okay, I think we got it. Yes, exactly right, Carrie. Thank you. Okay, so I think I got it working. Yes, I know. This always happens. Okay, so what should happen, and should have initially, is I clicked Add Edit Citation, and a menu is going to pop up that asks me what style I want to start citing in. So for the sake of today's class, I'll pick MLA, but you can obviously pick any of these styles if you're an APA person or Chicago. They have those styles as well. So this will ask me by default what I want to start citing in. So I'll pick MLA. And now see, everything comes on the second screen. So now what pops up is a red search bar that's going to help me search my Zotero library on what I want to cite. So I built that library earlier. I imported all kinds of stuff, so now I can't remember what I actually put in there, but let's try, I want to cite something about whatever I have in my Zotero library on a particular topic. So I'll type it in, press enter, and then it'll pop out an in-text citation for me. And then if I enter down a little bit and click Add Edit Bibliography, it'll pop out the bibliographic entry for that particular citation. So as I keep writing and I want to edit more in-text citations, I can't remember everything I've searched so far, but I'll go ahead and pretend that this is what I want to cite. It'll automatically alphabetically put in the citations in my works cited page based on what I've provided an in-text citation for up until that point. If at any point I wanted to change my document preferences, so I've been citing an MLA, but actually I have to be writing this paper in APA style, it's literally just a matter of one click. So I can click Document Preferences and change it to APA and click OK, and everything should update automatically to APA. You'll notice that it changed from MLA, which doesn't include the date in in-text citation, to a year in the in-text citation because APA wants you to include the year in the in-text citation typically. If at any point I wanted to include the page number of my source, I just go back to the source and click Add Edit Citation again and say, okay, this quote that I'm putting an in-text citation for was from page 12. So I'll put in page 12 in the field here, and then it should automatically add in the page formatted according to that style. If I wanted to go back to MLA, let's go ahead and if I don't want to do that page, I can do that and click off. I was going to try to, let's just add another source. If I were to want to change the bibliography at any point back to MLA, I could do that with one click. So any questions about how to use it within Word? So I can add edit my in-text citation, add edit my bibliography, and click on document preferences to change the citation style at any point with one click. One more thing I wanted to talk about real quickly was, let's say when I was saying you can edit the fields within Zotero, let's say you notice that this imported all in caps and you didn't want it to, you can change the source here in a field and then just click refresh, and then it'll refresh the citation based on what's in your Zotero library currently. So all three places that Zotero lives should all be in sync with each other enough to where if you edit the library, then it should automatically update your Word document as well. So I'm going to stop there for a second and ask if there are any questions about what I've shown so far. And I can see chat, so you're welcome to use the chat or unmute yourself.
So I have a question, please.
Yes.
So what I just noticed here that with APA 7, because this is what our professor usually are asking us in communication, and I've noticed here that the title is all capped up. So I have actually to pay attention that the title is not going to be totally capped. So I cannot really like totally rely on Zotero telling me how my reference is going to be. I have to still pay attention that it's not going to be all caps and just manually do it, or just go back to the library and edit it initially.
Yeah, you make a great point. So Zotero is like any citation manager tool out there in that it kind of eases the process, but it's not the end all be all for accuracy. It's only as good as the content you're importing into it. Because yeah, I noticed what you're saying. The capitalization for these two articles is off. And that's
Yes.
because probably in my library, it's capitalized differently for these two sources. So it's still ultimately up to you to make sure that the APA citation is done accurately with capitalization. I always use a Purdue OWL. I just open up the Purdue OWL and look at a sample article and just kind of double check, and then I can edit. But yeah, if you were to want to change the capitalization, Zotero is not going to be like the end all be all for accuracy, and you probably have to change some of the capitalizations yourself. It's more just like a tool to help you ease the process, especially if you are somebody who's been doing all of this manually. It helps, but
Right.
saying I did this in Zotero is not going to be good enough for a professor to say, okay, you're fine. It's still ultimately up to you to follow the rules and regulations of the tool. That's a good question. I'm sorry it's not a better answer.
No, no problem at all. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, thank you. Dr. Miller, I see you're asking, can you import existing bookmarks from your browser? Yes, you probably, there might be a way to, you probably have to visit each page and just import it manually. I've actually never tried that all at once. Let's just try it. Yeah, I think I'd have to like open the page itself and then click the button to import it. Does that make sense?
It does. Yes, thank you. I've got a bunch of projects that I have so many bookmarks for, that
Yeah.
it's probably a good idea to go click through them all anyway, just to make sure they still exist.
Yeah, yeah. I wish there was a way to like import everything, but the best way I think is just to visit each one,
Okay,
unfortunately.
thanks.
Any other questions about using the basic functionality of Zotero? I was going to talk a little bit about some of the like neat little things you can do within your library to edit your library if there aren't any other questions about just general usage. So within Zotero, you can do a lot of little things that are fun. So you can see I've used Zotero for other projects here. So I have little sub collections. So it's a good organizational tool. So if I have my whole library of all the sources, I can right click and do new collection and just create a new collection of, I'm working on my English 1101 paper, so I can have a subfolder and then drag and drop things for 1101 that I want to put in English 1101. So there's ways to organize it into subfolders if you need to. Just keep in mind that everything stays in my library unsorted. So when I don't know, it's like a little, I'm not a huge fan of it, but it doesn't like drag it physically out of your library. It just kind of copies it over to a new folder. So that's something to keep in mind. If you ever have duplicate items, there is like a duplicate items folder. So you're like, oh gosh, I've saved this article like a million times. There are ways to kind of clear out your duplicates if you need to. If you ever want to get rid of something, you just right click on the item and click move item to trash, and that will remove the entry from your library. You'll see here, this is where I have group libraries. So on occasion, I've had, I've worked with a collaborator on something. So I might work with somebody else and we both can save things to the group library together. Going back to how much Zotero costs, if the person who creates the group is the one who gets the storage taken away from their account. So if I start a group library and I have a 2 GB paid account, then all of that will get deducted from my account. It won't impact the person who has the free account because they didn't start the group library. So that's something to keep in mind. I haven't really run into that issue because again, it takes a long time to hit the 300 megabyte limit of cost. So it hasn't been a problem, but if you're working with a professor on something or working on a big research project, if there's a person who has like a bigger account, you may want them to create the group library over you. So that's group libraries. You can start a group library from either within Zotero or from Zotero.org. It's it's kind of like a cloud product. So there's like a cloud version of all your logins and the physical program account syncage as well. Within Zotero, if I go under Edit and Preferences, this is all the citation styles that comes up by default. I think I've modified this a little bit. This may not be like the exact default that comes up if you were to download it. If you were to ever need like an obscure style, so like not APA, not Chicago, not MLA, but some specific journal style that may be in there, you can go to Get Additional Styles over here, and you can actually just search for the style that you're interested in. Like I said, there's over 10,000 styles supported within Zotero. So let's say you're trying to cite from some literature journal. Modern Chinese literature in China, has its own citation style that they follow. If you hover over the citation style, it'll actually show you what it should look like. So you can kind of double check, like, is this the citation style I'm supposed to be using? And it'll also tell you the last time it was updated. So if you see that the citation style has gone through a recent revision, but the latest style in Zotero is like from 2016, then just know that may not be the most current version of citation style out there for this particular journal. Zotero is like an open source tool, so a lot of it's kind of generated by its own community. So you may run into some issues of like certain things not being updated most recently, like it would be for like a paid product like EndNote or something like that. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's a little bit more user generated of a community. So some of the citation styles might just be particularly outdated. I know MLA has obviously had a bunch of revisions, and recently came out with the 9th edition. So if you were needing to distinguish between 8th and 9th edition, I don't think there's a huge amount of difference between the two. But if your professor says you have to cite 8th edition or you have to cite 9th edition, you can have both versions in your Zotero library to cite in either version. Or if somebody's still working with the 7th edition, you can do that. So that's a little look of the different styles. I often, like, if I know I'm never going to be citing in the American Medical Association, that's not what librarians do typically. I just remove it from my default library. And that way, it's not deleting it from Zotero, but it's just kind of like my own preferences. I don't want this style to come up for me. So I just I modify this a little bit just to my own liking if I need to. But if I ever need to add it back, I can go under Get Additional Styles. Under sync, you can link your account. So let's say you're working on a work computer, but you also have a home computer and you want Zotero to kind of be linked up to everything. I have a little username that I've created for my Zotero library. So should I go home and want to work on a different computer, I can log in with this same account and get all of my library imported into that particular computer. So if you log in with your account that you've created at Zotero.org, you can click this little button right here and it'll refresh and upload what the latest server version of your libraries are. sometimes people get confused because they're like, I logged in and nothing happens. There's this little green arrow right here that you can click to kind of refresh Zotero to sync it up to whatever account you have it synced up to. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in particular. Within individual items, you can make little fun edits. So like I said, you can edit each field, but there's also like notes and tags and related topics. So if you wanted to add your own personal notes, like, oh, this is good for my particular research project, you can type that in your notes field. And then you can actually search the notes later. So if you've put a note of like, let's say you're researching diabetes for a paper and you tag certain things diabetes and you want to find all the diabetes related articles in your research, you can search diabetes here and then everything you've tagged as diabetes will come up in your search. So you can kind of like modify your library to have different little search techniques. You can add tags. Sometimes it'll automatically import tags from like whatever database you've been looking at, or you can just delete them and put your own in. And then all the tags are over here in the bottom left, and you can click on and like limit down to those tags. Related is interesting. Sometimes when I'm importing, let's say an entire book in my Zotero library, but I also want a chapter of the book in my Zotero library to cite from, you can do related. Like, so you could, let's say this is like, let's just pretend this is like the overall book, and then I can add a second item to it called related, and now the two items are just kind of connected, like, oh, I've already imported this chapter from the book, so I can relate the two items. It doesn't really impact the citation of anything, but it's you know, you can relate the two items for your own kind of like preferences. Another way I use related is if I'm using an article in my research, but I've also looked up who they're citing in their bibliography, that's my own technique of saying, oh yeah, I've looked up these citations from this article already, so I don't have to re-look them up. So there's just different ways you can kind of edit your library to have different little tips and tricks and organization, because everybody kind of organizes their resources in different ways. So there's different ways you can do that kind of thing in Zotero. If you're kind of like in a hurry and you're not wanting to do the whole in text and add edit bibliography, there's a way to just create a quick bibliography, and I'll show how to do that. So recently I was helping a professor find different abnormal psychology books that have been published. So I saved all the books, but I just wanted to send her an email of everything I had found that thus far. So I selected all the items that I found in my research, and then I right-clicked and I clicked create bibliography from items. If you're just like trying to like type up an email of all the sources you found for somebody, you can create bibliography, and let's just do APA since it's psychology stuff, copy to clipboard, and now I can paste. Sorry, I'll delete all this. Now I can paste just a simple bibliography of all the sources in my Zotero library that I want to cite. So you don't have to always go through Word with the add edit bibliography if you're not typing a full paper. Let's say you're doing an annotated bibliography and you just need a simple bibliography. You can do it that way as well. I feel like I've kind of been all over the place. So does anybody have any questions in terms of anything I've shown thus far? This workshop won't take a full hour because it's a pretty easy tool to use once you get started. The hardest part is probably just getting it set up, just making sure it's in your browser, in the program, and in Word. Sometimes that takes some like quirks in terms of your personal computer. But beyond that, once you kind of get started, you'll find that it's very intuitive to use and a lifesaver. So I think it's very effective. Thank you, Carrie. So let me see, I'm just looking at my notes just to make sure I haven't forgotten everything to show. Export, edit, create a group library, imported PDFs. Anything else I can show? And feel free to unmute yourself. I'll go ahead and stop sharing.
So, Shishi.
Yes.
So all you have to do is just download the two things that you showed, the one for the browser and the program itself, and it would install itself in Word.
Yep.
Okay.
I would recommend having like Word closed when you're doing it, just because it won't, like if you have it open, like I've been helping students download it, but they'll have Word already open with like various papers they're working on. So I'd recommend just shutting down Word when you do it, and then when you refresh it, it should open. You'll notice I was having some trouble it wasn't working in Word initially for some reason. I don't know why. So I think I went under one of these features, and you could reinstall the Word one. But I think it's easier just to have Word closed when you install it, and downloading the program should automatically install the Word add-in.
Okay.
The second step that people forget about is installing that second browser connector. Because once you download the program, you're like good to go. You think you're good to go. But then you have to go back to Zotero.org and get the browser connector. And I would really highly recommend just having it in one browser. I wouldn't install it in Firefox and in Chrome. I would just be like, okay, I'm going to use Chrome with Zotero and just have it in that one. Because sometimes you might run into confusion if you're saving sources from different browsers. They may not work effectively. So I would recommend just doing it in one browser, the one that you use primarily. But yeah, it should automatically download within Word as well when you do the program, but have Word closed just in case. Other
Okay, thanks.
questions? Well, I hope that you all enjoy using it. They have a free tool called Zotero Bib. So, if you're like in a real rush and you don't want that program and you're just like, I just need a quick service to help me make a bibliography, you can paste your items in here and do a bibliography. But we're getting into like easy bib territory, which is not bad. But I just like the personal database aspect of Zotero, so I think downloading the program can be really valuable. So I will go ahead and stop sharing. So I'm going to go ahead and put this screen up, and I'll put the links in chat. But if any of you are here for extra credit for your class, I will drop this link in chat. If you fill out this form, I can make a certificate of attendance for you to show your professor if you're here for that. And then if you would like to give me any feedback on the workshop, I'll drop this second link. Call it feedback. And feel free to fill that out as well. I'm happy to stick around if any of you have like personal questions with what you're working on. But other than that, I think I have about wrapped up what I would like to talk about. So thank you for being here. You're welcome to leave if you need to. I'll stop recording.